Today's Apple IIGS shenanigans are brought to you by Squarespace. But more on that in a bit. If you've been around the channel for a while, you probably know that I have something of an obsession with getting old computers online, to the point where I've even developed web services specifically aimed at vintage web browsers, which will probably come in handy today because, well, we're going to get this 1986 Apple IIGS online. For a machine that originally shipped at just 2.8 megahertz and was widely considered a commercial failure, there is a surprising amount of modern networking software and hardware available for it. And when we're done, I'll make my IIGS disk image available for download in case you'd like to subject your own machine to this kind of torment. Let's see what the information superhighway has to offer when you're surfing it in 16-bit. So stay tuned. And if you enjoy spending hours of endless tinkering to achieve what is probably in no way an acceptable internet experience, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. We put the fun in fundamentally flawed computing goals, so it's definitely worth sticking around. This is my stealth Apple IIGS. This build has been one of my absolute favorites to do. And I won't go too far into the details here, but you can check out this video here if you're interested in learning more about what makes this thing so special. But basically, it's an early Apple IIGS in an Apple IIe style case that's clear from Mac Effects, and with this wonderful Mac Effects keyboard. It has two upgrades in particular that will really help out our internet browsing experience today. One, it has a ZipGS processor upgrade card, which takes it to 8 megahertz, blazing fast. And two, a micro drive from Reactive Micro, which lets us boot from disk images straight from a CF card. As far as actually getting online, there are three things that make it possible. First, the Ethernet 2 card, a modern Ethernet card from A2 Retro Systems designed for Apple II systems. This allows us to connect to a modern Ethernet network with all the niceties of things like DHCP automatic configuration. Second, there's Marinetti, the TCP/IP stack with the fun name built for GSOS on the IIGS and written in blazing fast 65C816 assembly language. And third is a link layer driver which allows Marinetti to configure and talk to our lovely Ethernet 2 card. In theory, this is going to allow us to have a more or less modern internet experience connecting to a network using broadband, all at 8 megahertz. And then, the most exciting part. There is a surprising amount of networking and internet software written for the IIGS and GSOS over the years. Web browsers, FTP clients to grab files from modern machines, a Twitter client, Telnet apps, email, IRC chat. There's even a freaking VNC client that can supposedly allow us to remote from this machine into a modern computer and control its desktop from an Apple IIGS. Now, I spent quite a while looking for a pre-configured disk image that had all of this software already on it, plus Marinetti and the Ethernet 2 stuff. There is one, but it just wouldn't boot on my real IIGS. So we're going to configure everything ourselves, install from the installers, and at the end, I'll make the disk image freely available on Macintosh Garden and archive.org for anyone who wants to try these shenanigans on their own machine. Okay, now let's install this Ethernet 2 card into our IIGS here. But first, a quick word about today's sponsor, Squarespace. Create a fast, beautiful, and rich web experience for your business or brand using Squarespace's powerful all-in-one platform. It's really easy to get started. Like, say I wanted to build a website all about how the Apple IIGS is a wonderful platform that was severely mismanaged by Apple on purpose to favor the Macintosh. Not only could I build it in minutes with Squarespace, but it would be well-designed, responsive, and mobile-friendly. There's a ton of beautiful templates that I could choose to start from. And from there, it's simple to build a great-looking site that's also fast, responsive, and works great on mobile devices. With Squarespace's extensive built-in toolset, I can also optimize for SEO, manage a mailing list, check my analytics, and much more. all geared towards managing your entire web presence. So check out squarespace.com/actionretro today for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use code ActionRetro and save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. All right, so installing the Ethernet card couldn't be easier. There's a little arrow in the top here that says what direction the keyboard should be in, so the port actually faces inside the machine. And I'm going to stick it in port 4 here, just to keep everything nice and balanced inside the case. And then for now, I'm just going to snake the Ethernet cable through the back of the case here. But once everything's working, I have this nice little extension cable, which I'll use to put an Ethernet port on the back of the machine, maybe up here. Now, the slightly more convoluted part is getting the software on here. We have this micro drive turbo from Reactive Micro, which has a 512 meg CF card just on this little adapter here. And yeah, we're going to have to boot up a Windows laptop and run a program called CiderPress, which will allow us to flash different disk images to this CF card. Okay, now to get some disk images onto the 2GS, we have to pull out the old stink pad. Now don't get me wrong, this X230 is an amazing little laptop, but it literally smells weird. Anyway, that's not important. What is important is this CF card USB adapter deal that I have our 512 megabyte 2GS CF card in, and a program called CiderPress. Now, CiderPress is an incredibly cool application that allows us to transfer disk images to a CF card that can then be used to boot things like the micro drive. So what we're going to do here is start from a pre-existing CF card image, which is this very up-to-date System 6.0.4, which is the unofficial latest version of GSOS. And it also has some games on there, but we might have to delete those for space since we only have 32 megs per partition to work with. And that disk image is very graciously provided by a great site called What is the Apple IIGS? If you're going to play with your Apple IIGS, I highly recommend checking out this incredible website. And we're writing that disk image in a bootable manner to the CF card. That's so cool. There we go. We should be all ready to boot from that partition. Oh, and let me just show you this thing I found on Amazon. It's an acrylic monitor stand that was super cheap, but look, it fits perfectly over top of an Apple II case. And just look how good it looks with this clear Apple IIGS case, or the Apple IIe case. Look how well the monitor fits. Oh yeah. That looks awesome. I'll toss an Amazon affiliate link to this thing in the description below. It's super cheap and I couldn't be more happy with it. Now I know I've been getting fancy with the screen capture lately, but that is notoriously difficult here on the Apple IIGS, so we're going to go with the tried and true camera pointed directly at a CRT. Anyway, this is the default install of 6.04 from What is the Apple IIGS. We see their lovely wallpaper here by default. And then I also have mounted right on the desktop all of the other fun stuff that we are going to need here. So first I have some wallpapers that I really like already separated. So I'm just going to pop those right onto our GS hard drive here. Pop into Desk Maker. Oh yeah, Cyberpunk. Straight from the demo scene. This is my absolute favorite. Okay, next, let's run the Marinetti installer. All right, restarted, booting back into 604. We should see our extensions load here. And there we go, networking. Oh yeah, look at that, TCP/IP. And if you take note of this little blinking green light right down here, that is the Ethernet 2 card, blinking away. All right, so now we should have a control panel for TCP/IP, but there's one more thing that we're going to have to do, because under setup connection, we don't have an option yet for the Ethernet 2. But that's okay, because check it out. That's what these things are. These are the link layer drivers to control the Ethernet 2. There we go. After a restart, we can choose Ethernet 2 here and configure it. So we have our card in slot 3, I think. Give it some name servers. And yeah, let's see if it works. I see the network card blinking. All right, it appears that we're connected. Let's try an internet application. That's weird. That is not the correct IP address. Okay, I figured it out. The problem was, I'm an idiot. You see, I forgot to do two things. First thing I forgot was to go into slots and define your card for the correct slot. And the other thing I forgot was which slot I actually plugged it into. We're in slot 4, not slot 3. So now we go into TCP/IP. And when we do setup connection, we have to just make sure it says the correct slot, slot 4, leave DHCP enabled. And as we can see, it actually gave us the correct IP string. So we have .1 instead of .0. And now when we connect, it'll say MAC address initialized. We are connected to the internet, I think. I haven't actually tried it yet. Let's try it right now. All right, 192.168.1.28. That is an IP address on my network here. So let's connect telnet to location cqbbs.ddns.net 6502. This is my go-to BBS. Oh, it's doing it. Yes. We're online. Oh, and this is just the perfect machine to do BBSing with this just wonderful Mac Effects keyboard. Oh, yeah. But this is still very old school. Let's try something a little more modern and a little more, well, just plain cool. I wonder how this Twitter thing works. Uh-oh. All right, let's try that again. Nope. Something's weird. There's a popping noise from the speaker, and then, yeah, the mouse suddenly gets very janky. I wonder if it doesn't like the ZipGS upgrade or something. Okay, well, arguably the thing that I'm most interested to try is this VNC application here. VNC View GS. Can we really connect over VNC and control the desktop of another computer? Oh, wow, look at this. Okay, so I have tight VNC server running on the StinkPad. So we'll just enter its IP address here. And I don't have any password set up, as is tradition. And connect. Oh my God. That's Windows 10. What the heck? Oh no. What have I done? How is this possible? Well, it's not exactly fast. But then again, we're running at 8 megahertz. I can't believe this works. Let's drag a window. Look, I can drag this window around. Now we're running at like 320 by 200 resolution on the client here, and the stink pad's running at 800 by 600 right now. But it works. Look at that, it's the start menu. This is honestly unbelievable. I mean, I guess this would be really cool if I set up like Linux to run in this resolution, and then I could just have a teeny tiny Linux desktop going here, but oh, just the fact that this works is incredible. Okay, let's disconnect and then choose the other option here for a larger resolution. So our options here are 320 by 200 at color or 640 by 200 in grayscale, which is going to be a warped image, I believe, but it's also going to give us a little bit more desktop space. Oh, goodness gracious. And apparently it crashed. Okay, well, I cannot believe that it works. I connected to a Windows 10 desktop from the 2GS and controlled it. Amazing. Okay, now I really want to try web browsing directly from the 2GS as a first-class internet client. And to do so, we're going to use the really interesting Weber browser, which is a very updated version of the old SIS browser for Apple IIGS, which was long ago discontinued. So check this out. This is like a very modern feeling web browser experience, because we still have the user interface of the Apple IIGS GSOS up here. And yeah, it's not a window you can drag, but still, that's very cool. And it opens up by default to the Weber browser's homepage and has helpful links to some other interesting software that we could probably download straight through Weber. This is really amazing that there's a modern-ish web browser that works reasonably well at rendering HTML for an 8 megahertz Apple IIGS. I mean, you could probably run this on stock Apple IIGS. It might be a little bit frustrating, but still, look at this. Amazing. Okay, so you know that we have to check out our own web services here. So I have frogfind.com, which is my search engine geared towards vintage computers that I built really with compact Macs in mind with black and white displays. So let's see how it works on GSOS in Weber. All right, so no graphics, but the alt text for our little frog logo is here. And the colors on the frog find up here, yeah. And then Leap 2 is where we search from. So let's see, Apple IIGS. And then click on Ribbit to search. And there we go, check it out. Here are DuckDuckGo search results for Apple IIGS. And well, I already see a problem here. This text does not scale very well for Weber here. So maybe I'll have to tweak FrogFind a bit so that it works correctly or has a correctly rendering font for Weber on the Apple IIGS. I could probably do that with a user agent or something. Okay, I think I have some work to do on my own sites, 68k.news and FrogFind, to make them work properly with Weber. I do want to check out one more very awesome website. And that is the Mac84 retro site at retro.mac84.net. And wow, this one works great. Look at that. Okay, that's a good look at web browsing, there's one more thing I want to play with. Spectrum is an internet communications software suite for the Apple IIGS that's good for very many things, specifically connecting to BBSs, and most importantly for me, playing online games called MUDs. And honestly, this is probably the number one thing I was excited to do on the Apple IIGS with this beautiful keyboard, is connect to my favorite MUD and be able to play it reasonably on this machine. So I've already set it up here, Death Wish MUD, and we just have to make sure it's set to ANSI. And we should be able to connect to it with full color. Oh yeah, look at that. Death Wish MUD in full color on the Apple IIGS. It's a little bit slow on here, but I think it's fairly playable. It's definitely readable. Hey, look, there's a bunch of people on. Oh yeah, this is pretty awesome. All right, well, I can see myself just playing this now. So I'll have to cut this part short, and I'll just probably play this after I'm done with the video, because this is awesome. Oh, I'm so excited that this works. Okay, so that'll do it for this look at going online with the Apple IIGS. And it really blows my mind just how much software is available, A, and B, just how much you can actually do with an 8 megahertz upgraded Apple IIGS. Browse the web, I can play online games like MUDs, I can probably figure out how to get Twitter to work, and yeah. It's so cool. And there's so much more on this thing for me to explore. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be trying to overclock this thing in the very near future and just seeing how much of a difference that makes with all this cool online stuff that we're doing. And I couldn't be happier with this build. I'm just having so much fun with this thing. So I'm going to take the disk image that we just put together with all the cool online stuff for the Apple IIGS, and I'm going to upload that tonight to the Macintosh Garden and probably archive.org too. And I'll put links in the description so you can download those images yourself and yeah, subject your own Apple IIGS to the torments of the modern internet. But that'll do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more Apple shenanigans like this, please subscribe down below. And thank you very much for watching. And a special thanks to Adrian B. Perkins, Camilla Noseda, Chris Allegretta, Chris Briggs, Chris Calderon, Chris Nelson, Cobalt Retrotech, Daniel Hubbard, Greg from Hrutk Mods, and Scott Thompson, who are my highest tiered patrons, and all of my Patreon supporters who help to make these videos possible.